Okay, thank you all for joining us today. My name is Carly Fabricant. I'm the Wellness Coordinator for the school district. Some of you I have not met yet, so welcome to Men's Health Week. And we're very excited to have a fantastic panel of speakers today for Men's Health Week, starting off this first day. And we first up will have Dr. Miguel Montilla, provided to us through Humana, which is our dental carrier. He's going to talk to us about the importance of good dental health for our overall health. So I'm going to share my screen and let him get started.
Well, thank you, Carla. Pleasure to meet you. So I am a independent consultant for Humana. I've been in the dental field for over 40 years. So let's go ahead and I'll start with a slide and of the importance of what I wanted to talk about preventive dental health care. And basically, when you go to the dentist on a regular basis, you have the dentist has the opportunity to pick things up at an early
Can
stage.
everyone go on mute? We're getting a lot of feedback.
So is this better now?
I think it's Carly there.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So first thing is gum disease. And in a regular dental exam, you're going to have what's called a periodontal probing, meaning checking the depth of your periodontal pockets, if there are any. That picked up very early can be arrested and controlled. And if it's not picked up, that can lead to more severe, what's called periodontal disease, and eventually you could end up losing the tooth or the teeth. So that's really very key in regular dental visits. Tooth decay, a little decay can be fixed with a very simple restoration done the same day. When the decay is left untreated, number one, it can get into the what's called the pulp of the tooth or the nerve, and now you're looking at a root canal, and then you're looking at crowns, and eventually that tooth is now damaged pretty much. It's lost a lot of its natural tooth structure, and you might end up eventually even needing to have that tooth replaced. And there's other serious dental issues. For example, squamous cell carcinoma, we see that intraorally, not frequently, but it's been picked up. Head and neck examination that a dentist will do will pick up any abnormalities, any growths, anything that is that would require a referral and looked into. So it's really very, very key to do that. By doing that, you're going to promote good oral habits with your family, seeing that you do go, having your children, all leading by example. So I talked about the examination, which consists with the dentist of head and neck, looking at all your tissues, your tongue, the inside of your mouth. It's called the mucosa, looking at the condition of your gums, and obviously looking at your teeth, at your bite, how your teeth come together, and that's really very important. Let's say that you're a grinder or a clencher. When it starts getting a little progressive, we're going to see signs of that with wear on the teeth as well. Okay. So anyway, going back, this is the best way to prevent any not only costly, but at the same time very uncomfortable visits to the dentist to repair more serious conditions. So going to slide 2, which is overcoming dental phobias. And look, I'll admit it, I'm a dentist and I don't know how many injections I've given, but I'm still a chicken. I've actually fainted when somebody's drawing my blood. So in all my years as a dentist, I always found that God knew what he was doing when he made women give birth, because if I had to be man, I don't think there would be too many siblings in the world. And that's just the way we're scary cats, But the more phobia that you have of a dentist, the better, more importantly, that you come in for regular visits, because regular visits could only be the checkup, a little maybe decay that's fixed that same day, or eventually, and then just getting you in regular cleaning appointments to do that. So don't ignore going to the dentist because you're afraid the techniques that we have today are extremely advanced. The anesthetics we use short-acting anesthetics where you're going to have that numbing feeling for a long time. Yeah, and we try our best with topical anesthetics and other techniques to minimize the discomfort of an injection. But overall, it's a painless situation. But as the severity of the problems increase, then obviously the level of discomfort uh, not really at the dentist, although being in a dental chair for 2 hours is not a pleasant situation for anyone. But obviously, post-operatively, you're going to have some more issues than simple little fillings and issues like that. Okay. Um, Now, talking about the what we call the human body connection, and really when we look at that, in our mouth we have what's called a bacterial flora, which is bacteria that are really good bacteria that live in our mouth. That's why we can pick up things, drink, eat, and sometimes you never know. And that bacteria is kind of a barrier, and so we want that normal, what we call an oral flora, have it in our mouth. But the problem becomes when that level of bacteria increases. And how do they increase? They increase by uh, leaving food in our mouth, having periodontal disease, where when we talk about periodontal pockets, really the reason is anything over deeper than 3 millimeters. The reason that is not good is because particles that we eat are going to get in there and you cannot clean them with a dental floss or a brush. Okay, that's the problem. So when you have, say, a 4 millimeter pockets, you start accumulating debris. That stays in your mouth, even if you clean your mouth 4 or 5 times a day, because you just can't get to it physically to do it. And that bacteria now feeds on that and creates a situation where now that level has increased to a negative level. And that level of bacteria can create problems in your body. There's levels what we call endocarditis, which is an inflammation of the inner lining of the heart, and that's a serious condition that we can have. There's evidence of increase of calcium deposits in our arteries due to bacteria from the mouth flowing into the body. And in some rare cases, but there's been cases of pneumonia due to this. Okay. As well, we also have the other way around, which is from the body to the mouth, and examples of that, for example, is osteoporosis that can affect the level of bone around your teeth that hold your teeth in your mouth, and that can be affected by that. It can affect you if you have an extraction as well as you heal, might delay the healing. And other issues are diabetes, because it affects your immune system, and that affects that oral flora that you have in your mouth. Okay, so and the mouth is a first indicator of that there's issues going on, and a dentist that's well trained and that is going to give you a thorough exam is going to be able to pick that up and then make the appropriate referral. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I know we have 10 minutes. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, doctor. As you all see, there's a preventative maintenance benefits and services there as well. So you know how frequently you should get your services done. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? No?
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, I have one question. Shingles vaccination, is that covered under our healthcare plan?
Well, we have Jim is here, so when we get to United Healthcare, we can cover that. Okay,
Thank you.
no problem.
Jim, your mic's muted.
Yeah, it is covered, but I was holding off till
Right.
we got to the medical part.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, we can go ahead and move on to our next presenter. As I juggle 5,000 slides here at once. Okay, so next we have Dr. Seth Serksner from UHC Optum, who will discuss important men's health topics. And let me go ahead and get your screen up.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any slides for me, but I'm happy to just speak to the issue. So I'm hearing a little background again, so hopefully that's working okay.
Go ahead and
okay.
there we go. Here's
Good?
your
we go.
slide. That's you.
Very much. All right. Thanks a lot, Jim. Hey, so I'm really pleased to get a chance to talk to you guys. My background's around health and well-being. And so, you know, there's a couple things to keep in mind. I think that well-being sometimes seems a little kind of loose. There's a real shift, though, from wellness to well-being. And there was a whole lot of thinking about wellness are those behaviors and lifestyles that put people at early risk of getting a chronic condition or even premature death. So smoking, poor diet, not exercise, all the stuff you guys know about. And the big message was, hey, don't do this because it's going to kill you a little sooner than normal. And you're like, well, you know what? I don't know when I was going to die anyway. And right now this feels pretty good. And that's pretty hard work. Well-being is more the study of what helps you live longer and happier lives. So one is what kills you sooner, one's what helps you live longer and happier. And the other thing about well-being is that, so for example, around diet and eating, in wellness, it's counting carbs and calories. In well-being, it's have modest portions, try to have a colorful plate of food. If you want a glass of wine, be moderate, but have a glass of wine, take your time and enjoy. It's a different structure. Exercise, same way. In exercise and wellness, it was all about, you know, like cardiovascular and weightlifting. In well-being, it's more about be social, be consistent, get outside if you can. So I just share this with you because I know there are a lot of barriers around this. Sleep is super important. So during the pandemic, it was really hard for people to get sleep, but we know that sleep is critical, and really 6, 7, 8 hours, you really need 7 to 8 or even more. So give yourself that gift, frankly, of some sleep. I also kind of, as we talk about this stuff, positive attitude and gratefulness is a really big piece of it all. I'll share a personal story. I have a daughter, she's 25 years old. She lives in Los Angeles. I'm in San Francisco, so I'm kind of as far from you guys as I could be right now in the country. But so she lives, that's about 500 miles away from me. But every day we text each other 3 things we're thankful for. And it's just super simple. It's thankful my job's going well, thankful I'm healthy, thankful I'm going to see my friends tonight. That little exercise of being positive, we know has a huge impact on just kind of our resiliency and our whole physiology. So just keeping in mind positive attitude and gratefulness is a really, I think it's a pretty, maybe it's not easy for us, but if we try to be a little more conscious, maybe with a little thing like texting or something, that could help. The other thing that I'll shift to, just because again, guys don't typically do this, is a big hot topic of self-care. So during the pandemic, a lot of stuff happened happened to us, right? We lost a lot of control. We, lost a lot of freedom. We changed our routines. There were all kinds of things. And so this term kind of self-care, how do you take care of yourself, started to come up more. And for me, that can be hard, right? You want to take care of others. You're there to provide. You're there to make sure everybody's safe, make sure whatever. Guys don't typically take care of ourselves well. We don't, whether it's dental health, and I was really glad the doctor had mentioned dental health because that is kind of a big deal. None of us look forward to the doctor. I would tell you the only trick I have, which is no big trick, is I wear earbuds now. And so I have that, and I'll be squeezing the volume on that thing when they start drilling. It's like, I don't know, but my hand's all tensed up and I realize, oh my God, the music's blasting, but because it's not that it hurts, it's just that the sound of it is horrible, right? So anyway, music for me when I go to the dentist helps. But the idea of taking care of yourself and asking yourself, when do you take a moment, and to tell yourself it's okay. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to have a little me time that is, whether you do like to listen to music, whatever, ask yourself, what's your self-care? Working out's great. I do a lot of workout. I like to, when I was younger, I asked a woman that I knew, I said, well, you run every day. That's so amazing. She goes, yeah, it's my only me time. And I thought, what are you talking about? Because I was a college kid and I had like all the time in the world. And she goes, it's the one time I'm not taking care of anybody else. I'm there for myself. I have my own thoughts. It's kind of a gift to myself. So, and I thought, yeah. And then now here I am, decades later thinking, yeah, that little jog that I get to take is me time. So give yourself something, ask yourself, and it's hard to get away from feeling guilty or selfish sometimes. Like, hey, I'm going to step out. I'm going to take a 10-minute walk around the block and regroup, whatever it might be. So I would just kind of combine that well-being and that kind of self-care together. And then the only other message that I'd like to kind of ask you to think a little bit about is, how do you promote that for others? You are all in this kind of position of having your role models at the very least. Some of you may be managers or at least part of teams if you're involved in teaching or whatever. But anybody, I had talked to some bus drivers a while ago around wellness, and they were saying, I just want to give that image off to kids that I'm healthy, that I'm showing that thing. You don't have to be in perfect shape, but it was a message as a role model. So I would just ask you to also remember that we all cast a shadow, and that even by taking care of yourself, by having that positive attitude, by thinking a little bit more mindfully about what you eat and how you kind of interact with others, will really serve you well. And they're not like typical things that guys are supposed to suck it up and all that stuff. You need time to recover. You need time for self-care. You need time to nourish yourself, get sleep, and still do all the many things that you do. So I'm really glad to get to have an opportunity to have that message with all of you. It's really important. So many of us are burnt out from the pandemic. It wasn't like you weren't working. You were working in a different place, in a different way. Some of you were doing the same stuff. Know that it's okay. I literally just got off a global webinar moments ago. Around the world, people are experiencing these issues. So you're not alone. You have a lot of services, again, that you'll hear about. You can reach out to people on the mental health side, and overall just kind of try to pay a little attention to your well-being. So thanks a lot for your attention. And I guess if we have a minute for questions, that's great. Stick around. If not,
Those are some
I'll
great
hand it
points. I
off to my
appreciate
colleague.
that. We talk a lot with women about self-care and taking care of finding time for themselves, and we don't do that a lot with the men. So I truly appreciate those words and of wisdom, and hopefully we'll start to take some notice because we definitely need that for our males as well. So thank you, I appreciate it. And now on to Jim.
Yep.
Thanks, Dr. Seth. So again, this is me. And if you look at me on the screen compared to my headshot, which is about 1.5 years old, besides the facial hair, I actually, my wife and I took COVID to really kind of do some of these self-care things. And I lost 40 pounds during the event by one of the things is I love swimming in the morning. And as Seth had mentioned there, it gives me that little time for myself to just kind of decompress. So I hope you find something like that. On the next slide, I'm going to show you, if you were to log into myuhc.com or the UHC app, one of the things that pops up are these recommendations. And so all the things that Dr. Seth was talking about, we actually look at your information and based on your age and what you've done and things like that, here's your to-do list. You know, we try and keep it simple. You know, I've got tons of honey-do lists, but this helps keep it in place. And you're looking at my screen as of this morning. Yes, I have 10. I got to get to work. Carly, on the next slide here, it kind of goes into some of the things. You know, here are all 10. So, you know, one of the first one there says talk to a doctor online, which we'll get into, you know, get a personalized nutrition plan. The big green one I'm highlighting there is, you know, my colorectal cancer screening, you know, your preventive screening. These things, your preventive screenings are covered by the school district 100%, you know, so I highly recommend that you guys go ahead and take advantage of these, book some time for yourself to see the doctor. It was mentioned earlier, the shingles vaccine. Yeah, the shingles is a preventive vaccine that is covered 100% at either the pharmacy or at the doctor's office if they do them. So through the UHC.com and the app, you know, we can help you kind of chart some of the things that you might want to do. And this gives you a way to go as far as, okay, where should I start? What should I do? On the next slide here, you know, Seth had talked about self-care. And again, I know, you know, I've got one kid in volleyball, one kid in soccer, and, you know, running all over the place, you know, and so sometimes if I'm not feeling good, I'm just like, okay, you know, suck it up, buttercup, let's keep moving. You know, you got your kids to take care of. Well, what I found very helpful is virtual visits. You know, you can have virtual visits now for a plethora of different things, mental health, urgent care items. I actually had one guy say that they were out fishing one time and one of the guys got cut. You know, they were offshore a little bit, still had cell service, and were able to call the doctor from the boat. The doctor took a look and said, okay, do this, do that, and you should be fine to keep fishing. You know, so a great thing. I a lot of times will get where my throat starts to close up, and I'll sit there and do my virtual visit from the Publix parking lot. You know, the doctor will send the prescription in, and within 15 minutes, I've got my amoxicillin ready to go. You know, so highly recommend this. The next slide goes into Real Appeal. Okay. This is a nutrition weight loss program that for anyone on the school district United Healthcare plan over the age 18 is free. Okay. And the way this works is every week you have a half an hour class. It's a group setting, virtual. So the nice thing, again, you could do it from your car. You can do it from your office. And each week they teach you something simple. Like one might be, okay, let's try and swap a sugary drink for water 2 times a week or 3 times a week. One might be, okay, you like some snacks. Well, here is, you know, potato chips aren't as good as pretzels. Here's some ways to find some easy cheats. It's taking small little things to put in your life that make huge changes. The other nice thing is it's got all kinds of virtual exercises. And even if you have trouble making it from the house to the mailbox and back, they're going to scale things to you to your personal need. And you do have a coach there. It's a group setting. So you can, every week they have a little informational part. It's a real fun video. They bring on some Hollywood stars, who help with it and everything. So highly recommend that. Oh, and by the way, they send you a success kit, because if they start talking about measuring your food and you don't have a food scale, it's kind of tough to do. So we send you the food scale so you can do that. On the next slide here, we get into what most folks now are seeing is going to be the long-lasting part of COVID-19, and that's behavioral health. Right now we're starting to see things that we'd never seen in the behavioral health, and what we've done from United Healthcare and the United Health Group is giving you this kind of portfolio of different ways to see folks. The first one is Sanvello. It's an app there that is self-help that you can download. You get the premium version, which gives you all kinds of different ways to help do check-ins, things like that. I actually had talked about this for a while, and last fall, after one of the talks I was giving on it, I came home and I was like, I haven't gotten my kids on it yet. So I went in, got my daughter, who just is finishing up 8th grade, my other daughter who's in 10th grade, and called my freshman at UCF and got them to try it out. About a month later, I walk into my 8th grader's room and she's laying on her bed and she's listening to her phone, and I'm thinking, what is this, another TikTok or something? But it's real soothing. And I go, hey, Julia, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm taking a guided journey. I was feeling a little stressed. And, I enjoyed doing these, once they're coming up. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. The other thing, gentlemen, is, a lot of us will not go see a behavioral health specialist. It's just one of those things that guys tend to avoid. I was the same way. I was having some troubles a few years ago. Finally went in, and it was amazing. They were able to really cut through the BS and say, look, this is what you're doing. And if you want, this is how you get out of it. Nowadays, just about every one of our is online. So the beautiful thing is you don't even have to walk in their office now. You can do it online over your phone, and it's a great way to really help, again, take care of yourself. So some great tools. And on the next slide, I didn't really talk about it, or I didn't go to the slide, is more info on Sanvello, all the different tools and things that can help you out. So just want to say again, take your time, get your preventive care. On the dental, by the way, they had mentioned oral cancer screenings on their slide. Highly recommend you talk to your dentist if you're over 40. It's a very non-invasive. They just put some liquid in your mouth, turn the lights down a little bit, and they're able to see whether you have the precursor for oral cancer. Oral cancer is very vicious. It's got a 5-year survival rate of 50% once it becomes full blown. So again, just some things to take care of yourself there. And with that, I guess if there are any questions.
I have I have two
no.
questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I want to get back to that, the colon screening. So what's interesting about the colon screening is if you had a colon screening and you were clean, you had no polyps, you cannot get another screening to be covered by United Healthcare until 10 years has passed. Exactly 10 years to the day.
No, it should be a minimum. It should be every 5 years, because that's what the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force is. So if you're being told differently, let us know and we'll reach out to your doctor, because we have it in the system every 5 years. It can be even sooner if you have a family history of having colon cancer and everything.
So there is no family history, but I got to tell you, my doctor, I was just there for my annual, and I have to wait till October for the other screening because my other screening was October 10th, and he said, and the office manager said we can't book you before October 10th. Oh, United will not pay.
Well, if you want to know, Carly's going to send out our info. Shoot me an email. We still have doctors' offices who are saying that you have to wait a year and a day to have your preventive wellness exam.
Okay.
And that's over a decade old in that change.
Right.
So, you know, it's one of these things that sometimes they have it listed on a sheet of paper and they've never updated it.
Okay.
But we can always help you with that.
Okay. I have another question.
Sure.
So I don't know if this is the forum. So Optum Drugs, is this the forum for that? The mail away stuff?
Well, Optum is one of our programs.
Okay.
You know, you can always ask it, but if you want to keep it, you know, again, if you don't want to share all your personal health info,
I don't give a crap. I'm too old for that crap. I'm getting too old for that crap. I don't, you know, after a while, you just lose your vanity, honestly.
Yep.
But no, so I've been taking a blood pressure pill for almost 20 years, 22 years. And now I got notified by Optum that they're no longer covering it. So now after 22, 23 years, I've got to convince my doctor, not convince him, tell him, listen, when I run out of my prescription, you got to change my prescription. I think that's insane to play with somebody's body. And I'll tell you, I'm 60. So, you know, from 35 to 60, I've been on this one pill and now I have to drop it and go on another pill and play a game with my life. I really don't think that's fair. And is there any way to appeal that they're not going to cover it?
You can definitely always appeal them, but typically whenever we've got a medication that's coming off the prescription drug list, there are a number of other ones that are equivalent to them. And a lot of times, especially if you've been taking that long, there's a lot of them that are actually better for the condition. But it can always be appealed by you and or your doctor.
So we would have to appeal it.
Yep.
Okay, I'll have to talk to the doctor. Okay, because I don't feel comfortable changing after 25 years and the pill is working. Why would we switch to something new and cross our fingers that it's going to be just as productive and just as good?
Understandable. There's a lot of factors that go into play when we're looking at the prescriptions. Know that whenever we're taking something off, there are at least one or two that are equivalent in the efficacy and proven to do as good, if not better, on what we're doing. So, you know, have a conversation with your doctor on it, and then from there, if need be, you know, there's definitely an appeal. And like I said, you can always reach out to me too.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Hal.
We had another hand raised, Hubert.
Yeah, hi. I received the email from United about getting done the colon stool test. If I choose to do that test, will that make me ineligible to have a colon full examination? The one that you have to go, or does this have to be one or the other, or can I do both tests?
Well, you typically, if you have no family history and you want to do the stool test, then you're all set with that. But if there's something that appears on that, then you would be able to go ahead and have the preventive colonoscopy. Now, sometimes it will be able to detect that you have some kind of polyps and everything. And then that's where it moves from preventive to diagnostic, because they're actually going in to do the procedure and take the polyps out and everything. Okay.
There's a question in the chat box. Jim, are you able to see it?
Yes, gastric bypass and weight loss surgeries are not covered under the program. Okay.
Okay, well, I know that Jim will hang around in case there's any questions a little bit later. We're going to move on to our next speaker. Thank you, Jim. Okay. Next, we have Rick Clifton from Health Advocate, who will talk to us about mental health. I know Jim did cover some aspects of mental health, but Health Advocate is our employee assistance program. It's available to all employees, regardless of your insurance coverage. And I'm sure that Rick will cover a little more of that. So I will let him get started. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Thank you for being on the call.
Thank you, Carly, and welcome everyone. It's good to see you all again. A lot of what I'm going to talk about is my thunder was stolen by the first couple of speakers, and that's fine because you can't reinforce this enough. And I got to say, before we go much further, Carl, I'm digging the hat and the sweater there. I tell you right up front. Okay, when we talk about mental health, we know that men suffer from anxiety and depression at the same rate that women do. But men are 6 times less likely to go to a doctor for symptoms of anxiety and depression. And interestingly enough, doctors are almost 3 times less likely to diagnose a male with anxiety or depression than a female. So why don't men go to the doctor more about anxiety and depression? Well, as a couple of the other speakers have talked about, a lot of it is just this stigma of going to a doctor about a mental health issue. We want to be tough. We want to just say, hey, snap out of it. We want to say that, I'll get through this. We self-medicate a lot. We generally self-medicate primarily through alcohol and drugs. There's just this whole overall mental idea of what men should do and what men should be like when it comes to mental health. So men are reluctant to see these things. Next slide, please. But we know that getting help early is absolutely vital to treating depression and anxiety. And now, interestingly enough, we know that over this pandemic, and especially the isolation period, over 45% of people surveyed by the American Medical Association admitted, both male and female, admitted to greater levels of stress, of anxiety and depression. So what we're going to look at here is ways to help alleviate that a little bit by managing your stress a little easier. And the first thing I'd caution you about is expand your views of what the symptoms of depression and anxiety look like. In the past, we've always felt that depression was symbolized by a feeling of sadness, a loss of interest, a lethargy. Everything is hard to do. And we know that it's not just that. Are you showing signs of irritation? Are you short-tempered? Are you snapping at people around you? It's kind of funny because when I talk to people, I say, who have been in isolation, I say, what was the best thing about being in isolation? And they tell me, having my family around me 24/7. And I say, good. What was the most challenging thing about being in isolation? Exactly, Marcus. Having my family around me 24/7. So, are you a little short? And we tend to get a little short-tempered. We tend to snap. We get irritated. Things that way back in March of 2020 were cute or adorable or almost amusing. Excuse me, have now become irritating. Pushing my last button sort of thing. So, look for signs of anger, of irritability, of aggressiveness that are not in proportion to the sense of irritation. The slightest thing sends us way off the deep end. Are you feeling tired? Just this general sense of almost a malaise, of physical fatigue and mental fatigue. Is it taking you longer to do tasks than it normally would? Right? Tasks that used to take us 5 minutes, 10 minutes are now taking 15, 20. It's getting harder and harder to concentrate. It's harder to stay on task. We get distracted easy. Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you sleeping more than you used to? Are you sleeping less than you used to? Are you self-medicating? Right? Have you become real good friends with Ben and Jerry again? Are you going to that consulting firm of Haagen-Dazs? Right? Or are you going back to your college ways of when you're stressed, of inviting in Jim or Jack for the evening? Right? These sort of things are signs of anxiety and depression. Not just the old ones that we used to consider of losing interest and feeling depressed. Right? Don't ignore your physical symptoms that are often tied to mental health. For example, blood pressure is directly related to mental health in some cases. A racing heart, headaches, digestive problems, what, as a psychologist, we call gastric sensations. That feeling of not knowing whether or not you have to go to the bathroom or throw up. Are you feeling these? Because all of these could be signs of a mental health issue. So what do we do about those? Well, you've heard a lot of the really good ideas, and I'll just reinforce those. Talk to somebody, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a trusted agent, and we all have trusted agents. That trusted agent is the person we go to who'll tell us the truth, right? It's that person who may be a spouse or a partner, maybe a family member or a sibling, maybe someone at work, the teacher across the hall. It's the person we go to say, hey, is this me? Am I the problem here? Or am I the only one reading the email this way? And they'll tell you the truth, all right? It's the person who, when you go to them and say, hey, does this shirt make me look fat? We'll tell you, right? So go to that trusted agent and express and tell him what you're feeling, right? Encourage people around you to look at their symptoms and to talk about their symptoms. Right? And that means putting aside this feeling we have of mental health being stigmatic, of being a weakness, of just snapping out of it. Right? As other people have said, practice healthy habits, right? Especially exercise and just getting outside. Right? There's been a lot of studies lately on the effect of nature, of being outside. And we know that 15 minutes of being outside in the sun gives you the same stress management relief as an hour at the gym. Now, I'll trade a 15-minute walk outside with the dogs for an hour at the gym any day. Right? So, keep that in mind. Practice these healthy habits. And finally, be careful about that self-care. Let's avoid, I'm not saying let's become Benedictine monks. Right? I'm not stupid. I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm preaching to my fellows. And if someone gave me this idea, this suggestion, I'd leave the meeting. But, we can go and we can practice moderation. All right? It's okay to invite Jim and Jack in, but they don't need to spend the night and they don't need to be coming in every day of the week. All right? A glass of wine with dinner, that's fine. But you should cut back on the smoking and look at how you're approaching your work. Are you trying to put too much on your plate? Are you trying to do everything at once? We have this idea that we're really good at multitasking. No, we're not. The brain doesn't multitask. The brain multi-sequences. We jump from task to task to task. You can't do 2 or 3 things at once. So, look at the tasks that you're facing. Prioritize. If you can, delegate. Because I guarantee, especially with stuff around the house, because I guarantee you, if your partner or spouse can figure out how to work the TV remote, they can figure out how to work a washer and a dryer and a dishwasher. Delegate those tasks that you're doing at home. They can cut the grass. They can trim hedges. You don't need to be doing everything. Pass that off. All right, next slide, please. So what do you do if you notice, a male friend going through some of these symptoms? Well, first off, listen. Now, men aren't really good listeners. Let's be honest. What we tend to do is while we're supposedly listening, we're either rehearsing what we're going to say next, or we're just waiting our turn to talk. All right? Listen to the person. Be an active listener. Focus on what they're saying. Right? Encourage them to seek help, whether it be through a school counselor, whether it be through a primary care physician, whether it be through the EAP program you have as some of your benefits. Right? Talk to somebody. Go see a professional. We're all good at giving advice, but a lot of times we still need to go to the professionals to let them talk, right? And encourage those good habits that we talked about, right? Cutting back on the drinking, stopping the smoking, getting more exercise. Encourage by inviting the person to go with you. Simply say, hey, let's take a walk, right? Instead of going out for pizza for lunch, let's let's grab something quick and easy and take a walk and eat it on the run. Something like that. Next slide, please. And finally, again, remember, you have this EAP benefit to talk to a licensed counselor. Remember, when you talk to your EAP, you're not talking to some college sophomore doing a psych project, with a checklist. You're talking to licensed professional counselors bound by standards of confidentiality. Right? And also remember that these benefits are not just yours. Your partner or spouse, your kids up to a certain age, your parents, even your in-laws are eligible for these benefits. And they're feeling the same levels of stress and anxiety that you're feeling. They just may express it in different ways. So give them a call. And finally, the second thing to remember about your EAP is it's not a one-time deal. In other words, if you use a benefit, it doesn't go away. You can use that benefit, pass it on to someone in the house who can pass it on to someone else in the house who can pass it back to you, and you can use it again. So you see the number in front of you. You see how to get us through or get us online. And one final thing, if your depression and anxiety have reached to the point that you're considering harming yourself or harming others, call immediately. Call 911, call your EAP, call the suicide prevention hotline. The number is there in front of you, or call that trusted agent. You're not alone, and you're going to get through this. Any questions for me? Okay. I thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. All right, any questions for Health Advocate? So every employee and of course, as Rick mentioned, their partners, spouses, children, parents-in-law are entitled to 6 free sessions per year per topic. Right, so definitely take advantage of that resource if you need it, as well as all the articles and resources on their website, the advocacy part, with claims assistance, bill savers, financial assistance, caregiving assistance, the list goes on and on. Health Advocate is a great resource for all of our employees and their families. All right, and lastly, but not less important, is financial discussions. So today we have with us Denny Artachi from Peak Brokerage Services, who will focus on finances and also probably tie in a lot of what we've heard today, how finances affect our health and how to take care of ourselves. So go ahead and you can pin Denny's screen and I'll let him.
Hello, can you hear me? Great. I think it's apropos because, like in life, people wait till the end to discuss or deal with their finances. So I'm definitely used to this. I want to first start off saying how grateful I am to be on this call because a lot of what was said is really important. And I want to tell you that you're looking at a person who takes those type of things seriously, and I blend them into my financial well-being. I was once on 3 blood pressure medications, and I know all about Jim and Jack. They visited me often. But last year during this pandemic, as I was so despondent like many people, I wound up having one of my best years. And what I want to say is a lot of financial decisions are often misused because of the emotional state that we're in. Some people say, well, it doesn't matter what I do, so I'm just going to stick my head in the sand and do nothing. And that's really not the case. Now, most clients, they take me on as their trusted advisor, as Rick says, is because I not only stop them from doing emotional things, but I don't want them to do something because they heard it was a good idea somewhere. For example, if many of you have a lot of debt, you should address that first before you start investing, because unless you're going to declare bankruptcy or do something like that, it's very important to have your house in order. With regards to investing, I was asked recently from a magazine that I think these are basic questions that run through a lot of people's minds. So here they are. Rule of thumb, when it comes to percentage of your retirement income, what should you put away for your retirement? Number 2, how often, why do people need more than a rule of thumb? Number 3, what should you consider when you're trying to decide how much money you need to retire, which is kind of part 1. And 4, if someone plans on spending their retirement traveling and playing, how do they determine what they do? Can everyone agree that these questions kind of come across in your mind when you're thinking of retirement? Okay. So my response was, a good starting point is to put away 10% a year of your investments if you can. Now, that's just, life is not linear, folks. There are bumps in the road. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area. You have a tough job. You're underpaid. You have stress levels. But what I want to tell you is, if you can physically take care of yourself and mentally, you'll be able to make better financial decisions. So, for example, how many people go out to eat 3 and 4 times a week? Lots of people. More than you believe. I don't. I live well within my means. I have no debt. I told you I'm out of, I don't take medications. I'm going to be 58 next month. How many 58-year-olds are not on medications? It took me work, though. I work at it every day. Just like my financial well-being, I put away money each week that I could, and I decided to cut back how many times I'm going to eat or whether I'm going to spend frivolously. Very important. So my response also was to this: if you cannot put away 10%, put what you can. Start a habit, because compound interest is a great way to go for retirement. But the other thing is, if you're already within 5 years of retirement and you haven't done any of those things, then maybe you should take care of some of the debt, make sure you have the proper health insurance, and also think about when you're going to balance your pension and Social Security. Most people want to take Social Security early because they say, I don't know how long I'm going to live. What they fail to understand is, because Social Security is more favorably taxable, it's better often, I'm not telling you what you should do, to delay Social Security because it does have a cost of living increase. Spend down your investments because you'll be spending less in taxes. Can we all agree that we believe the taxes are probably going to be higher than lower in the next 5, 10, 15 years? So taxation you have to address in retirement. Now, if you know the number, hey, I need $50,000 a year to retire, or I just need to do that. And you can think forward thinking. I don't see too many 25-year-olds on this call. So we're in a different league. And what I'm saying to you is, if you don't have 20, 30 years to put away the money and say that you need $50,000 a year to live, when you see the commercials, they say at a 5% withdrawal rate, you would need $1 million to make $50,000 a year. How many on this call have $1 million put away? We don't. So what do? We try and balance when we should take Social Security, how long we need to work, and that will dictate how you should invest. When it comes to investing, there's only so many ways you're going to do. You're either going to buy individual equities, you'll buy mutual funds. You can do managed accounts. A lot of my assets are managed accounts, but I also believe in insurance products. Not all insurance products are treated the same. I sometimes snicker when people say, I don't believe in life insurance. I think it's a waste of money. Folks, very wealthy people buy life insurance. And the reason they do is there is no substitute. Now, I'm not an annuity salesman or a life insurance salesman, but I am a full holistic financial planner. So with clients, we figure out when they should take Social Security, how they should invest. Right now, people are pretty smart. Think about it. The market's been up no matter what's been happening. But I have to tell you, if we go back 21 years, the market, the S&P, has averaged about 5%. So many people think expectations are, I need to make 10, 20% on my money. That may or may not be the case. What you do need to address is when the market corrects, which it can, because it always does, how far down am I willing to go, and how much time do I have as a recovery? Does that make sense? Because we don't know. I don't know. Warren Buffett doesn't know. No one knows what the market's going to do at any given time. So time, risk, and diversification are your friends. As I look on this call, I don't see any 30-year-olds. I don't see any 40-year-olds. We have less time to make up for market corrections. That's why many less sophisticated investors will reach for insurance products so it can buffer the market volatility and it's a predictable outcome. But believe me, having it professionally managed is a great way to go as well. If you can put more away in your 403B or 457 plan, it is good because you are paying yourself. It's pre-tax dollars. But what do you do when you're close and you're getting to retire? That's where you need someone like me to not sugarcoat or tell you what you want to hear, but tell you where you're at. For example, John, I know you want X amount of dollars and you need this much to retire, but based on what you have, it's not going to happen. So why don't we come up with another plan that can balance, maybe cut back. I'm amazed still that many people do not have an income spending sheet. I have Excel sheets personally. I know what's going out. I know what's coming in. It's the only way that I know on whether or not I'm on track. Where's my debt? How are my investments doing? Am I covered in case I get seriously ill? If I'm married, and us men are typically the breadwinners, although that's changing, thank God, I'm okay with women running the world because us men have kind of screwed it up from time to time. But most breadwinners, men, we need to make sure we have enough life insurance so that if something happens, that our loved ones are taken care of. Life insurance is not what it used to be. It's a lot better, just like annuities are not what they used to be. Just like investment accounts are not what they used to be. So if you're planning to travel in retirement, I would say, how much excess do we have? And no, just put it on your credit card is not a good answer, okay? Because you have to pay it eventually, unless you're planning to go bankrupt. You know, I'm probably not the most exciting financial professional you're going to meet unless you come to one of my shows, because before I was an advisor, I used to be in some famous rock bands, and I still play for fun. I have that balance. So please, don't wait till it's 6 months before you retire to start planning for your retirement. Look at what you're doing. How much are you putting away? And don't just put something away because someone told you to do so. You know, a lot of times clients say, well, I'm putting away $500 a month and I'm retiring in 5 years. And then I show them what it looks like. And they look at it and go, well, that's not going to help me. So then I say, well, then stop what you're doing. Maybe pay down the debt. Maybe downsize. I don't know. So Carly has a way to get a hold of me, but I'm telling you that most of my clients really appreciate my straight, non-sugar-coated approach to investing because there's only so many ways you're going to invest. You need the proper insurance company, health coverage for health, life, and ultimately, you have to be in the right frame of mind to make decisions that are going to benefit you and your family. Many people get emotional. Market's down, it's up, it's sideways. I recommend you try and take a more moderate, balanced approach and diversify as much as you can. So I do enjoy this model because I do mentor students. I have a book. I practice all these principles that I was hearing. And I took notes, Rick, and all the great speakers before me, because guess what? It does tie in. If you don't exercise, eat well, take care of your mind, and get less angry, it's going to affect your investment decisions. So I thank you for the opportunity. I'm certainly here to help. I wish you all an excellent rest of the summer. And I think I'm done for now, Carly.
Carly, you're
Talking this whole time, nobody listened to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was trying so hard to stay muted because I was echoing. Anyway, thank you, Denny. Some great advice on the financial side, not to be ignored, of course. I think there may be some 30 and 40-year-olds in this area, in this on this call today, but still important at every age. So we've had a great round of speakers today. If there's any other questions, you can go ahead and type them in the chat box. I will be sending out the contact information for all of our speakers today, as well as this recording if you missed any of the sessions. This was your only activity for today for the Men's Health Week Challenge. So you're done for the rest of the day if you were on today. Don't forget to look tomorrow. We don't have a presentation, but you will have an activity to do. So be sure to go back to your activities list, check out the activity, and make sure you get that done. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you again so much to all of our speakers today for being on this call. And if you think of any other last minute questions, again, I will be sending out the contact information following today's presentation.